I want to keep that open. I want that information to keep flowing. So, I want to find as much information I can about you. Right? What IP addresses you own, what domain names you own, where's your address? I don't care. I want as much information as I possibly can get. And I'm going to use that. I'm going to store that because I might have to use that later. Right? I like to pick apart. So I can do all that stuff without you knowing about it. Right? Then I want to locate what network range on the internet represents your company. Right? What those IP addresses I gathered before, how do you piece that all together? What do they do? Right? What's being hosted on them? So forth and so on. And I want to ascertain who's talking. Now, if I take a utility like Nmap and I start knocking against your firewall and start saying, who's that, who's that, who's that, who's that, who's that, who's that? Your firewall or your UTM device is going to go, no. Not so much. Right? What if I sent a packet a day and I waited for a week? There's not a lot of technology that's out there that I'm aware of that for just one ping a day is going to recognize that that's a threat. So, if I'm patient, I can send that ping over, just a little packet and say, ding, hey, psst, what are you doing? Nothing. Okay. Tomorrow, psst, what are you doing? Send an email. Oh, good. Thank you. I feel bad for engineers that are developing all this stuff and I simplify it like that. Years of education. But that's really essentially what it is. What can I find out from that one packet of information here, other than who's talking? I can, what's that?
Who's open?
Yeah, well, who's open, right? Who's open talking? I can find out things like what operating system they're running, what version, what revision, what patch level, what application, what version, what revision, what patch level, vendor, maybe even some information depending on the type of packet I sent, how the nomenclature works for your email system. Maybe I want to see that information, see how your emails run, so forth and so on. Maybe I do. Depends. Right? So, ascertain the active machines. Right? And these kind of go together. With that, I'm going to find out what the open ports and access points are. Are there any open ports that were left open from a service or something that wasn't used, or used to be used but not used anymore? I want to find that out too. Detect the operating systems, uncover the services like I described, and then make a map. Make a map of them. Right? Figure out from a logistical standpoint, what does that look like? Right? And then from there, I'm going to decide what I'm going to attack. Now, what you might be wondering on here, on this side, is what is all these squiggly squares? Right? Well, it's not pop art. What it is a, although it is a little artistic, yes. It is a methodology for figuring out, depending on what vulnerability you find, what you can exploit. It's just a simple chart, what you can do. Send malicious email, DOS attack, go after services, obtain network access, and just follow the chart, and you go through that. sservice2hack.com, it's still up. It's Chinese, I think, or Taiwanese. I think Chinese, actually. But they do have a lot in English as well. But that's not the only site by far. There's plenty of them out there. Okay, Metasploit. Who's used it? It's okay. It's a good guy tool as well. But Metasploit, if you're very good at Metasploit, boy, you have a field in security or future in security. Metasploit is basically an aggregation of a bunch of exploit tools in one nice little package. Now, there's two versions of it. There's the open source version out there, and there's also, now there's the Metasploit Express, which is actually a commercial version. Now, the difference between the two is this. Now, Metasploit anybody can use. Now, what to keep in mind is, if you're going to use it for good, this absolutely gets used for bad too. It all depends. The tool in itself is not evil, right? Or good. It's just a tool. It's how you use it. Metasploit Express you can buy for about $3 grand now. And the difference is that a lot of the regular Metasploit tools, command line, you got to know it fairly well. Express is basically a GUI that says, who do you want to go after? What do you want from it? I'll go find it, and here's all the exploits you can run against it. Check off which ones you want, and I'll let you know what I get. So, my point is that I'm not saying Metasploit. There's so many utilities that are out there right now that will do just that for free. Right? But I bring up Metasploit because it is a tool you can use to test your own systems to find vulnerabilities and things like that, but it will absolutely, tools like this can absolutely be used against you. Make no mistake. Just a particular screenshot, it's not Microsoft-centric, it's not anyone-centric. It's just exploits and vulnerabilities and what you can do with them, right? In this particular shot, you see backup exec, you see Bright Store, you see Barracuda, you see Exchange. I mean, there's lists and lists depending on what application you want to go after and how you want to go after it. And it's constantly updated. So you run the vulnerability scan, you find out what you can get, and then run the exploits. See how far you can get in. Cover your tracks, so forth and so on. This is not the Metasploit Express GUI. This is just one GUI that's tied into it, mostly for web penetration testing, like IIS and stuff like that, and Apache and so forth and so on. Just some screenshots. Now, that being said, it's easier to con somebody out of the information. This is one scheme that's making a lot of money out there right now. If I can just threaten somebody and scare somebody, I can get money from them. The way they do it is this. They use a tool, let's say like the Harvester. The Harvester is a simple social engineering tool. If you point it to a domain, it will allow you to find out what email addresses are posted on that domain. That's all it does. Who's particularly vulnerable to this, I find, are universities are particularly vulnerable. A lot of emails are put up there. The little simple app, they look for that. You just type an email. And so, it'll report back all the emails that are posted up on that website. Why do I care about that? Why I care about that is because if I find emails or multiple emails that are tied to a person, I'll go ahead to a site like People. What People will do is if you put in that email address, it'll find all references to said email address. In this particular case, the company that was targeted, ended up finding a executive officer of the company and found out a little bit about what they do, where they are on the social sites, the social networking sites they're on, so forth and so on. So in this particular case, they got the name, position, phone number, and even more. Interesting. Okay. Other sites track somebody. If you have a username for a site, you can go to track somebody and find all references of that individual to that username. Build a flowchart of the contacts, right? Find out who does what, build a flowchart, and figure out, well, who might be somebody we want to get information from, or we might want to exploit. And so what you do is you build a fake profile that is based on a profile of somebody that you might want to do business with. Let's say if it's a VP of finance or something like that. You make it look like you're the CEO of some company, some upstart company or something like that. Or whatnot. We can't remember everybody we come across, but they're betting on the fact that they don't want to tick off a potential customer when they accept that friend or deny that friend request. So people will usually accept the friend request. And what they'll do is they'll watch that profile and see what kind of personal information they put up there. Kids' names, where they go, stuff like that. And then what will happen is simply they'll send them a letter. And that letter in an email will say, I'm very sorry for you, Mr. or Mrs. Smith of such address with kids such and such. I'm going to kill you unless you pay me a ransom amount in the sum of something or other. And I'll forget about it. So, my phone rang off the hook when this little caper came out. Now, they released it earlier, but it didn't have personal information. Now it does. And a lot of folks got scared about this. Now, the only advice I can give to you is when you see something like this, it's probably automated. If you're concerned, call law enforcement for sure. It's probably an automated bot sending it out. But if you think you can pay these folks to keep it quiet, think again. Once that happens and you actually do pay somebody off, there's blood in the water. And that information will get shared by every cybercriminal organization that you're an easy target to exploit. And they'll just come back to you asking for more money and more money and more money. So, best to report to law enforcement whenever you can. I'm not a lawyer, just going by my experience. Somebody have a question? No? Okay. All right. So there we go. Cheer up, folks, because now you know what they're going to do against you. Now you can protect yourself.